In times of uncertainty, the well-being of your loved ones becomes your top priority.
Days of heavy rains across the southern state of Rio Grande do Sul, triggering massive floods.
Mandatory evacuations are in place in areas around Houston, Texas, as a major river there quickly rises.
And when the world feels unpredictable, MonkeyWorksPrep.com is here to help you secure peace of mind. Through our affiliate program with My Patriot Supply, MonkeyWorksPrep.com provides you with the supplies to prepare for any situation. From long-term food supplies to smaller prepping kits, you will have everything you need to take care of your family. Because knowing you're prepared is more than just planning. It's about spending time without worry, knowing your loved ones are taken care of. Visit MonkeyWorksPrep.com today.
All right, hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. This is going to be your SITREP for 8/27/2024 as we get into the deets. Coming to you live here from the Monkey Lounge in the great state of Texas. And I will tell you, there are a lot of things that are happening around the world that really look like we are starting to repeat history, whether it was the fall of Rome and the things that took place leading up to that fall. We see it being replicated right here in the United States. You can go back to World War II and you look at the amount of immigrant camps that are popping up all over the world, especially here in the United States. Very scary, right? But there is one more element that I think could be in the making. And if you're just trying to read into what is happening around the world, we're going to look at the amount of military activity around the Middle East. I have a bad feeling that they're up to something and it ain't good, all right? So let's do this. Let's jump in. I'm going to start off over here in Skyglass as always. And just note, you will see these traces around some of the flights. This is actually where they're looking currently with ISR activity that is live. Okay, so if you live in these areas and you're under these circles, we'll look at this closer in just a minute, but those are going to be your intel balloons. I'm going to pull them off my screen. We're just going to shred this by what is currently up. I've already stripped out all of the trainers. Now, if I go over here and look at H-60s, look at this flurry of H-60s in the Northeast. It's absolutely incredible how much is currently up around this area. That's a lot, okay? 30 H-60 Blackhawks, and most of those are right here. All right, so we back away from that. Let's look at H-47s. This is also another big indicator, a little bit interesting. I'm going to go ahead and add those to my quiver. We'll come back in later on the watch list and fix that. But these are going to be your banana copters, H-47 Chinooks. Currently on screen 13, so that tells me the balance of these are going to be over here in Europe. And they are, yeah, look at the UK. It's probably training activity as always, but then you can see some over here in Europe and up here into Norway side of the house. So, all right, back away from that. Now let's look at the air refuelers. We'll just leave it over here for just a minute. And you can see, I'm going to hit the trace lines on that. KC-135, 16 currently up. Let me take out those EC-35s from our quiver too. And then the Pegasus B767-200, 15 of those. So combined, you've got 30, 31 air refuelers currently up. That's a little bit elevated. Typically, we're around 25, I think, is kind of our average. But just note this one here in Europe that it is running that marshalling pattern to the north. Now, you see this spinning. There's a reason why I do all of my screen grabs before I get started, because if I had to do this for every single thing that I cover, it'd be a hot mess and we'd be here forever. So, but yeah, you can see running there to the north. Let's see, Netherlands, Denmark kind of area. And then I see something transitioning over in or out of the UK. Let's go over to the United States, and that's where it's really busy. You can see a lot of long transitions. I think we're moving fighters out of this area, maybe some naval F-18s or something headed across the drink, potentially. But it looks like we've got some transitions happening just because of the long lines here. You can see them coming out of Beale Air Force Base area, and then down here in Southern California also coming across. Now, the interesting piece is you can see where they're all launching out of. That's from the, again, air refuelers going down a little bit south. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. What in the heck is going on down here in the Caribbean and around, for them to put these up, that tells you we got fighters out here. Why? I don't know. If we look at the NOTAMs here in a minute, I don't see any indication of any type of military exercise. We do know the Ruskies are down here, but just notice, I mean, heck, they're all the way down to South America. Very odd, very strange to see this amount of air refuelers in the Caribbean. Very strange. All right. And then here again. All right. So that's going to be your air refuelers. Let's back away from those for a minute. And then let's go into the watch list. We're going to talk a little bit more about these balloons. I want you to see what's going on here. Pay close attention if you live in the areas that are inside of those rings. That is more than likely they are gathering every single thing that you do on your phones, any type of electronic transfer. The capability, I believe, is almost exactly like the R135 or any of your drones. You see that E3 Sentry all the way up to the northern border, right? And then you can see that right there looks to be potentially Air Force One. It's an NA, but they're flying incognito. Could be Flashbang is actually going to be in, or he's actually already at the beach. Went from one vacation on the left coast to vacation at his place in the Northeast there. Now, that bigger circle, that's going to be a third party, like LaSalle Aviation type of thing, doing some intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance, or ISR is actually what we call that now. Then also notice that E3 that's out over Norway, dropping it down. You've got the balloons that are up over Germany and the rest of Europe, gathering everything, and then another E3 Sentry down south. But those rings, when you see that, just note that is their, I mean, they've got visibility to every bit of that. Now, the piece that is not calculated in with those round rings would actually just be the fact that if they have any type of over-the-horizon type of capability, then those rings would actually be significantly larger. I am sure they do, but trying to figure out which one has it, it's a needle in a haystack. So we just have to go with what we got, and knowing that is a high probability ring. Again, anything that's down in there, they are capturing. So every time you transmit anything out of this little dealio, they're going to processing centers, and AI is basically moving it through very quickly, rapidly. Okay, so that's going to be your watch list. Now let's look at the ISR again. Intel, surveillance, reconnaissance. Very strange flights out of the left southern coast across the United States. Again, I don't think that's just a transition. And then, of course, these are the GLEX flights that are also, that's that third party. And you can see, it looks like they're doing some low altitude stuff. That may be airports, touch and goes or something, but you can see them rolling and operating out of Biggs Army Airfield. Again, intelligence gathering. And then down into Florida, it's close to MacDill in Tampa, up in the Northeast. And then Europe, as always, you expect to see this. Now, the interesting piece is when you get down a little lower, you can notice that they are looking very heavily into Crimea and Ukraine. And then notice this one off to the side. That is very likely looking at Serbia and Kosovo. Remember, these aircraft, every one of them are looking out the side view, okay? This aircraft I just popped up on your screen directly across from me. We'll talk about that here in just a couple of minutes. But you can see Israel as well, hot and heavy. We're going to look closer at the map at Israel in a minute just to show you where all the activity is going on. Very small footprint, so it's very busy, all right? And I see a little bit of some intel gathering there near the Philippines. So, all right, let's move on over here to the drones. And this is going to be basically your Q9s, your Q4s. There may be some Predator drones that get captured in this, but not over the U.S. Now, notice, too, the transition up towards Beale Army Airfield, Air Force Base, not Army Airfield. It's probably a joint base by now because most of them are. But see the little blips there? Those are low-altitude drones. And then this one, see a little corkscrew, right? That is typically going to be one of your Q4, Q9s. Notice that it leaves out of the UK, and then it heads over really kind of looking closely at Belarus. That's because Belarus is on the move. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. And then over Finland. Now, that is interesting because there's an R-135 over Finland, too. What is going on in that general region that they are so concerned about? And then look at us. We're all up in Israel's business, as always, trying to manage them. Because, you know, if we have a plan, we can't have them disrupting our plans. Okay. Now, look at this. You go around Japan, as always, very active and busy when it comes to Japan. Nothing down in Australia. All right, now let's talk R-135s. I just showed you one over Finland. We talked about the balloons kind of filling that void for what the R-135s are doing. This is 5 days worth of stuff. Very light. Very strange when it comes to the United States. I don't think we've ever seen it that light. And then, of course, that same area over Finland. We just saw the Intel planes doing the same thing. Something happening there. Broken trace headed into the Middle East. Well, I take that back. That's not a broken trace. That's actually stopping over Constanta and headed back. So it's out over the Black Sea. Okay, now look at this very strange 5 days worth of E6. The last time I couldn't even report on E6s because it was so low. I know they're flying. They're just hiding them. Okay, they're starting to wipe the traces. But that gives you a good indicator. We got a sub that's just left off of the East Coast. And then you get into the AWACS. And just notice these round marshalling points that you see. They're either doing man in the middle, which they probably are. Right there over the North Sea, they are certainly looking at ship traffic that's running in and out of the North Sea, probably gathering any type of transmissions from their phones. And then you can see a little blip there over France. And then you drop down over the Mediterranean, again, kind of hanging out. Remember, this is AWACS, advanced warning. So they're looking for nukes. They're looking at ships. They're looking at a lot of different things. Very high capability within this aircraft type. Also keep in mind that this ties in, especially when you get down to Australia, the E737, which is the one that has that surfboard skag on it, okay? And then over the United States, again, very light, unusual traffic, but notice that it's hanging out over Texas down towards the border. That's a little concerning for us in Texas, but there you have it. All right, so let's look at this. We did talk balloons, but I want to kind of get into them just a little bit more. I showed you the circles and where they are looking, but just notice this traffic seems to be over the same area that we saw the R-135s making that box over the same area. So remember, these things they're gathering everything, snatching it all up. Notice this one that just kind of disappears out here off, headed to the southeast. But, you know, we know for a fact, we get over here towards the African side of the house. I know we've got two of them parked out here near Morocco. All right. And then we know the Germans have them over that area because we just looked at them. Okay. So, all right, let's do this. Let's go over to the air refuelers because this also tells a story. Notice the transitions. We got a lot of fighters still headed over the drink. Right? If I back that up and just kind of give you a broad brush of what it looks like, very, very obvious that we're moving things across the drink. Again, if you're in England, you're probably seeing a lot of air refueling traffic in and out. You can see as it goes into Europe, but it's all hubbed and based out of the UK, not Ramstein, right? And then notice too, these are marshalling points. That's where the air refuelers get into a pattern and they just fly around, and the fighters that are running low on fuel, they just basically pop in, get some more fuel, and go back out to their points. All right. See this broken one that heads down to Mali, down towards Niger, right? Okay, that's probably we've got fighter activity down there too, or some other aircraft. Middle East, broken traces out over Iraq into Syria. We know there's been some recent activity there. And then, as you can see, from Japan all the way down into Southeast Asia. And then little blips down under, right? Again, air refuelers. And a big, big probability that these are tied to fighter activity. See all that activity coming out of the UK? Right, very busy. So I'm sure in England you guys are seeing these air refuelers land and take off. There's a lot. That's only 5 days, by the way. You get over to the United States, broken traces, you just saw it. They're headed out there to the Caribbean. What is going on out there that they would need to have air refuelers and some fighters? Yeah, that tells you. I bet the Russians are out there. Have to be. All right, and then off the left coast, way up here in the northwest, and then up into Alaska. Now look at Alaska too. We've been seeing some AWACS activity up there recently over the exact same area. This looks like we got fighters out over Alaska. Right. Okay, now let's talk about the grays for just a minute. This is going to be your agency boys for the most part. Very strange flight pattern here. I want to show you. Not really sure what to make of it, but I just want to point it out. We have seen these guys go down to Guantanamo Bay. Again, this is carrying your deep staters. All right. This is their little Uber. But they have other capabilities as well. And that some of that is ISR. But look at that strange pattern. It's high altitude, low altitude. It's just a weird flight pattern. I get over to Europe, I don't see anything. I know they're there, but I don't see anything from them. I don't see anything down in Africa either. I'm sure they're there as well, but all right. Okay, covered a lot of ground here. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and get into the news cycle and what's going on out there. First off, the U.S. is going to deliver more Max Pro armored vehicles to Kenyan warfighters in Haiti. Now, I'm just going to show you, this is kind of proof of life kind of thing. As we get into the C-17s, notice you got them headed down towards Kenya. But notice the flurry of activity into the Middle East continues on. When we look at that a little deeper here in a minute, I see some flights going in and out of the hub. You see the broken traces headed out into the Middle East. But the hub there, that's going to be Ramstein. Look at the flights. Look at the activity going across the drink in the last 5 days. Very busy. Very, very busy. Right? And then we get down here. Now, the thing I want to point out is we just talked about the article that the U.S. is delivering MRAPs, et cetera, down into Haiti. There's the flights. You can see them bringing them right in. And then notice the flights come out and they go into the interior of the United States. Makes you wonder if they're putting some folks on flights, maybe. But pretty active and busy over the U.S. for sure. All the way up into Alaska, out into Hawaii, up and down the left coast. All right. All right. Again, C-17s, and you can see the flights going right there, bringing these MRAPs into Haiti. They have a multinational force down there right now. They say they're making pretty good grounds. There's some photos of it. All right. Over to Flashbang. It's been this for a while. Look at this. Nothing. Close pressed. Out of town. Yeah. Who's running the country right now, folks? Because this guy's on vacation. You know it's not Bob Marley. All right. 100%. Now, speaking of Bob Marley, let's get into some details and why you need to be prepared. We're looking at serious civil unrest regardless of who wins. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think it just doesn't matter. Whichever way it goes, I think we're going to have a big spike of unrest. This is not going to go quietly into the night, folks. Right now, this guy is Martin Armstrong. He says he basically has a fear of post-election chaos. Now, why is that? Well, let's just here again scratch the surface of why he thinks that. He said, we're in a period of great uncertainty. When people are uncertain, they don't spend, they save. That's what happens in a depression and a recession. Yeah, we're seeing it. We're feeling it. It's been going on for a while. Now, he also says this approval rating thing, he says, is just a total hoax. Look at this. And this is the truth. I mean, you think about what we've reported in the past. Her rating compared to Biden's is significantly worse. Yeah. I mean, think about this. We were just looking at it. She was around 10.5% in terms of her approval rating. Now, all of a sudden, they're trying to come in and tell you it's 40, 50, 60%. Yeah, we're not buying it. We're just being lied to. The fact that they can lie to us like this and then turn around and throw rocks at people on social media because we're shining light on that darkness, and they hate it, okay? So, yeah, this is just an absolute joke. But I agree with this statement that regardless of who wins, we are very likely to see some civil unrest, and we may even go into a civil war scenario. Now, if you don't believe that, look at what insurance companies are doing, how they're starting to put clauses into their policies that says, hey, look, in the event of a civil war, you're not covered. All right. All right, moving on. Speaking of all the NOTAMs and things going on, we got the usual danger boxes off to the left and the right coast. But up here, just interesting, we do have a lot of boxes going on, a lot of mill ops happening. This is the same area that we watch these mill intel balloons going, right? Are they tied? Maybe. Not really sure. And again, you get over here, you can see Flashbang on vacation. This is where he's headed. This is where he is. This is, look at the size of the box. They continue to keep it extremely large over DC. Typically, it's just that smaller inner ring. Now it is expanded, right? Again, and that's just a danger box, really. Then you get down here, you can see we got a missile box on this side and a little box out here in the Pacific. Getting down to South America, a lot of things happening down there. Get over here to Iceland. Just notice they've got mill exercises going on all around Iceland. And then we get over England, and they've got the danger box, just like the United States, probably another danger box here. A mill op happening off in that side. Red means they are active, okay? And then dropping out here, just notice these are more danger boxes as you just kind of get into the deets here. And then over this area, as always, we expect to see that just covered up all the way up into Ukraine. All right. All right. That hasn't changed really much at all. All right. Let's move on. Okay. Look at this. This is SNC. If you're not familiar with them, this company basically, they just got a contract of $991 million to deliver the U.S. Army Hades jets. Not familiar with that. When I show you the intel stuff, that's exactly what it is we're looking at. These, this actually talks about it back in 2021. This is the jet. This is the same thing. LaSalle Aviation's flying, etc. Super high tech, does a lot of different things, but they're just continue to add on to the surveillance stuff. Okay, now over to Biggs Army Airfield. The big takeaway here is just we had one just roll out. It went to Minnesota, but just notice the Glex operations out of here. That's third party. Those are going to be, there's the one that just actually arrived from Minnesota. This right here, very highly likely that this is illegals coming in. And then notice it returns, it heads up to Chicago O'Hare, right? They're just moving them throughout the system until they deploy them into the United States. And then over to Dover, just big takeaway here. A lot of 747s leaving out. This one's headed to Israel. This one back, sorry, these are inbound. Coming in from Israel. This one's coming from CVG. Leaving, that one heads back to Israel. This one's a Ramstein. There was another one. Let me see if it's on the board. Nope, but it just went into RZE Poland. It has since cleared. And then the Camber flights, MD-11 coming out of Rota. That's going to be over here in Spain. And not even showing on the board, but that's an MD-11. All right. That's troop movement, more than likely. And then we get over here to this side. This is going to be the Brits. I'm starting to notice a lot of British activity inside the United States as well as Germans. That all makes you a little bit nervous because when you start talking about peacekeeping forces or even having boots on the ground here in the United States in large levels, does certainly make you wonder what they're up to. All right. Okay, now let's talk. Continue on. Just notice that headed into the Middle East and into Europe. Now look at this. This is a little concerning. Now you may notice there is a slight uptick in my UK coverage. That is because when I start hearing them talk about throwing social media influencers into jail, all you do is just stir in the pot for me, because at that point I'm like, it's on like Donkey Kong. I'm going to start shining light on your darkness over there. We're going to just continue on. So you guys can pack sand. You want some? Come get some, right? Check this out. Every part of Britain will take its fair share of migrants. This is, you have to look at what's been going on in the UK and just the sheer fact that they have been overrun by immigrants long ago. They're no longer even in the majority of their own country. They are now minorities in their country, and that's been happening for at least 20 years. But it continues to grow to the point where it's you're starting to see them, the locals kind of rise up against every time something happens, right? But look at this. They're saying this party deputy leader insists that all authorities must house successful asylum seekers who will be eligible for places in the newly built $1.5 million social housing. All right. I feel for you, UK. It's very unfortunate. You've lost your country. The United States is headed down the same path. It's just going to take longer because we're larger. But okay, now speaking of that, let's get over here. This is Ramstein. I just want to show you this. You know, you've got some C-130 activity. You've got a 747 coming in from Kuwait, 737-800 coming in from Kuwait. More than likely, these are just troops being rotated, delivering equipment, etc. There's a C-17 there. And then, of course, you've got this Spar 82. That's a blue and white dignitary arriving. And another camera flight coming in from around Egypt. I'll be honest with you, that more than likely is bringing illegals up into Ramstein. They process them there, then they send them out on commercial flights as well as military flights back to the United States. And nothing flying empty these days, folks. All right, and then you can see where they're headed from there. I don't know who this is, honestly, but it's headed to Spain, and I don't know who that is. But this is all military stuff. And then that one back to Baltimore, Washington. So, all right, moving on. German Air Force, again, let me go up here to the map, right, into Alaska. And notice that it's not showing the rest of the flights. Yeah. You go down on the board, though. Look at this. You got 6 flights that are up and airborne all around Europe as well as into Canada. Right. Heading on over to this piece. Check this out. Poland says that a Ukraine-bound Russian Shahed drone likely entered its airspace. That's what that will look like. Kind of crazy looking, isn't it? This thing doesn't, these are kamikaze drones. They don't fly in to get surveillance. They fly in to tear something up. But if that indeed happened, ooh, that's a big breach of airspace. And, you know, Poland, I think, is ready to go hot. So eyes on that one. It says here that Russia just hit Ukraine with more than 100 missiles and about 100 drones. We'll look at that here on the map. If you just want to bounce over, I'll come back to this fleet picture. I want to show you what's been going on there from a Ukraine perspective. All of those red drone-looking images that you see on the icons across end to end from Ukraine perspective, this has been going on for about 2 days. But Russia is basically coming back against Ukraine. Ukraine just launched a huge attack into Russia with their drones. Russia's coming right back at them. So just eyes on this, because this is these drones are very interesting, and the fact that they're very inexpensive when you have to launch F-16s or whatever it may be, or even missile defense, very expensive to fight a very low dollar drone. Now, the interesting thing is Zelensky is trying to say that they used F-16s. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. Let's get back over here to our mini. And you can see the amount of money. This is your Bohica. These are the countries committed, or basically committing the most aid to Ukraine. Eyes on this stuff, right? And you will probably see, especially if Trump gets elected and put into office, you will see a large amount of money get released into Ukraine before that happens. I will bet my life on it. And you can see U.S. is numero uno. Notice that they bring this into the EU institutions. I find that very interesting. And, of course, Germany is number 3 on the block, as well as Great Britain, everybody else. Why Japan is putting money in, I have no idea. Honestly, I don't even think they are part of NATO. But I guess everybody just wants to give a little. Who knows? But clearly, United States way deep in this, right, as we launder our money through there. Okay, RZE Poland, if you get into that forward operating base very close to Ukraine, you expect to see a lot of things happening. I don't see it. It's very light, very strange. The Belgium Air Force is the only one that has popped in and out, right? You can see them here exfilling. But not seeing a lot of big 747s in, at least not on the board today. All right, let's move on over to this. Ukraine sounds the alarm over a large Belarus force buildup on its border. making them very nervous. We talked about that in the last SITREP. Belarus is now starting to push a large force right here along the northern border of Ukraine. That tells me something big is probably on the horizon. Again, the interesting piece is they're saying this is a threat for nuclear safety and national security. But the piece to that you have to take away is that they are just right over the border of Chernobyl, okay? So you got a lot of nuclear plants in there. One of them recently on fire, still, I believe, is still going. I haven't really heard anything else about it, but that is, it's a big deal over there. Chernobyl, you know what happened there in the past. So that does make them very nervous, all right? Okay, popping on over here to this piece. We're going to talk Israel for a minute. Israel says Lebanon strikes thwarted a large-scale Hezbollah attack. Yeah, it looks like they were getting ready to really go wild over there. But the number here, they're saying there was more. Okay, so here, let me just kind of read through this. Hezbollah, which last fought a major war against Israel in 2006, said its militants launched a large number of drones and more than 320 rockets targeting enemy positions. Well, then I went back and I read that Israel actually hit like 1,000 spots or something up to the north. Now, let's go look at the map here. I just want to show you what's been going on in Israel. We'll take away the Ukraine, pop up Israel. Just notice way up there to the north, that is over the Lebanese border. And then, of course, down south, as you look at that, you can see Gaza Strip is just lit up, all right? And then over here in the West Bank is also very busy. So, and nothing changed really over in Israel other than the fact that it is still going hot and heavy. Will Iran come in and try to take a strike here pretty soon? I would imagine, yeah, they will. They're just biding time right now. All right. And then this is a big, well, let's just say, the fact that we talk about how our military is not prepared, how our military industrial complex is basically behind by years because of the amount of stuff that we've sent Ukraine. And then you turn around and you see this. Navy could sideline 17 support ships due to manpower issues. What is going on here? All right. 17. That's crazy. This is how they basically bring in fuel. This is how they bring in supplies. This is how they move a majority of stuff that we never see. And the fact that they are sidelining these guys because they don't have the manpower, that's not a good thing. That's very bad. And look at this. 2 U.S. aircraft carriers to stay in the Middle East after the latest Hezbollah attack. So they're saying that the Lincoln and the Roosevelt are going to be 2 that stay there right off the coastline. Now, we get back over here to this piece. This is where I start to really question things that we are seeing, and that is the fact that notice they are completely surrounded around the Middle East. Also note that it takes weeks to get these assets into play, right? There were some that were already there, but it takes time. That tells you that they are predetermining the outcome of this by moving these assets into the Middle East, all right? That is a big concern because we've got 9/11 coming up. Are we about to do a history repeat? What happened at 9/11? Well, we were attacked by terrorists, all right? And then what do? We turned around and unleashed hell on the Middle East, and it took all your eyes off of what was going on domestically. The fact that Bush had a horrible approval rating up to that point, and then all of a sudden, dead cat bounce, and he went up. Could be something up their sleeve, folks. Stay on your toes, because if that indeed is the case, you go, well, wait a minute. The U.S. wouldn't be behind something like that. Well, let me tell you this. I'm going to jump over here and show you. This is one of the blogs I wrote back in February because I thought it was very important to understand exactly what our government and our agencies have been up to since their inception, all right? Operation Northwoods. I've talked about it in the past. If you haven't heard it, you want to learn about it, jump over there to monkeyworks.com or monkeyworksus.com. Either one will take you in here. Go in and look for Operation Northwoods, all right? This was where we basically, the United States, decided they were going to create a terrorist attack on the United States and then use that as an excuse to go to war against Cuba, all right? All right. Have we seen anything similar to that in history? I think we have, actually, haven't we? that anniversary date's coming right up. So pay close attention, because this, I think, could be an outcome or a predetermined state. The fact that we have loaded up the Middle East like we have, you don't move, this is very expensive to do this. You don't move these assets into the Mediterranean, into the Red Sea, into the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, and basically surround the Middle East because you don't think something's going to happen. It's very, very strange. And it tells you that this may be their plan. All right. All right. Well, listen, that's going to do it for our SITREP today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. We will see you here in the Q&A for those folks over on Patreon and the live show and chat here in just a couple minutes. That's it. You guys stay frosty. Keep that powder dry. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. Artisan handcrafted soaps. Get yours in the Monkey Werx shop today.